Good morning, y'all. I have a couple of videos for you today. I'm going to do one quickie right now. I am inside my demolished house thanks to Hurricane Harvey in 2017, and I am pickling today. Not canning, but pickling. I pickled peppers already. How does that saying go? How many pecks of pickled peppers can Peter Piper pick, or something like that? Well, I'm not Peter Piper and I'm not picking them. That was done yesterday, but I am pickling them. Actually, they already are pickled and already in the jar, and I have already put the jar up, or I'd show you. But now I am working on pickling okra. I have enough okra frozen already to fry and to put in gumbo for a year. And so the okra I picked yesterday evening and this morning I will pickle, because pickled okra is very good too. I just prefer gumbo and stewed and raw and fried over pickled, but I like pickled too. So I'm going to do 3 or 4 quarts of pickled okra. Right now I'm waiting for the jars to sterilize. They're in the pot right there. The okra is in that little pot with all the yummy spices that I have to cook them in, but I've got to get the jars sterilized and ready to go before I cook the okra for just a few minutes. Now, I won't cook it long, just a few minutes at the boiling stage to get the spices infused into the okra. I like the okra crispy, and so it's not going to be boiled okra. It's going to be cooked just long enough to get the spices infused into it. But what I want to talk about right now, a friend of mine on YouTube asked me something, and I don't remember what her exact question was, but something about God not answering prayer, or maybe she was asking about God delaying in answering prayer. Friends, God always answers prayer, always. It may not be the answer we wanted. Often it is not the answer we wanted. And often He will delay answering, but He always answers. Look at Moses. Moses had many prayers to God delayed. Look at Samuel. Samuel had several prayers to God that he thought he needed an answer to immediately, or he needed those prayers answered immediately, but God delayed in answering them. And these are people that God loved, people that God chose to serve Him. Look at His servant Job. Look at Nehemiah. Look at Daniel. Look at the Apostle Paul. Look at Matthew. Look at Mark. Look at Dr. Luke. Look at King David. King David had probably 100 prayers, and King David was very vocal about asking God, why are you delaying talking to me? Why are you being silent? Why have you hidden your face from me? King David and I are a lot alike. We want God talking to us right now. We want answers right now. God doesn't always work that way. Most of the time, God does not work that way. God's plans are not always our plans. God's ways are not always our ways. God's thoughts often are not our thoughts. But God is God, and we are created human beings, sinful, repugnant, created human beings. So God will have His way in His time, every time. There is a analogy I came up with years and years ago, probably 15 or so years ago, about life, about our perspective on life. We get to see our entire life played out before us, but we only get to see one day or 1 hour or 1 minute at a time, but we get to see the whole thing. God sees our life from beginning to end all at the same time. I compare that to watching a parade through a knothole in a fence. We get to see the whole parade, but we only get to see a little bit at a time. The part that's passing right directly in front of that knothole in the fence that we are leaning up against and peeking through. Yeah, we get to see the whole parade, but just a little bit at a time. God is up above looking down on that parade. He sees the beginning, He sees the end, and He sees everything all in between at the same time. That's like our life. That's like your life. That's like everybody's life. God knows the beginning, God knows the end, God knows every second of every part of it in between. So there may be something tomorrow or later today or next week that could affect an answer from God today that God knows about, because He's looking at the whole parade at one time from up above, and so He delays our prayer. We're not to question God, we're to have faith in God. So whatever is going on in your life that you're praying about, whether it's a spouse or a child that is very sick and possibly on their deathbed, and we want God's answer right now, whatever it is, a job situation, a financial situation, whatever the situation may be, we want an answer, and we think we need an answer right now. But y'all, God sees the end of the parade. He sees the part of the parade that's happening later today and tomorrow. And an answer right now at this time may not be the best for us, and often is not the best for us. He wants us to grow our faith in Him, and if He answered every prayer immediately, we would have no need for faith. So learn to live by faith and not by sight. Put all of your faith in Him. Have the faith as a child. A child believes everything. They do not question hardly anything until they get to be a teenager, and then they question everything. But I'm talking about a little child. We need to have childlike faith. Trust in God. He is in control, even when we cannot see Him being in control. He loves us. We are His children. He will take care of us in His time, according to His plan, so that what? Why does He do it that way? So that He can receive the glory. That's what it's all about. I love y'all. Y'all have a blessed day. Take care, and come back later for the other video that I'm going to do as soon as I can have long enough to be freed up from this pickling and canning to do that video. It will be on the book of Job and about my daughter's death back in 2014. That day just passed this year, and it was hard on me. It's hard on me every year. I miss her so much. She was precious. She was a child of God. She was a servant of God. She was also a cop, a very good cop, a very dedicated cop, a very bold cop, but a very loving cop also. She loved people just like she was commanded to love them. All people, everybody. She was a precious woman. The Lord took her home in 2014, And God prepared me 2 weeks before she died, and I didn't know what was going on at the time. I didn't expect her to die. But God started preparing me 2 weeks before. And then He gave me something the morning before she died, like 6 hours before she died. And I didn't understand it then. But the moment I received word that she had moved away from earth up to heaven, then I knew why God gave me what He gave me. And like Job, I worship God. Because God's plans are better than our plans. God's ways are not our ways, but God's ways are always right. I gotta go. I'll talk to y'all later.